It's your boy Osman, back again with another Manchester United podcast. Yes, I know we beat Aston Villa yesterday 1-0, which was a fantastic win. But we are going to actually talk about the bigger picture, the bigger issues at Manchester United, which of course was deadline day on Friday. The deal to take over Manchester United Football Club. Listen, first things first, right? Get your questions in, slap a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I have been speaking to a couple of my mates that actually live in Doha and are from Qatar, of course. Basically, they're journalists as well. I actually worked there for the World Cup, so I kind of met people during my trip there. I was there for like 4 weeks, so I kind of got to know a couple of people. Anyways, I've spoken to them just to give me a bit more information regarding the credibility of Al Jazeera, because that seems to be the common misconception under my tweet. Obviously, I spoke with Chess on that tweet, and I'm very confident Al Jazeera to be extremely reputable and factual source of information. But we will get into that, of course. Slap a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. As you can see from the title, I'm going to be breaking it down into layman's terms, the simplest terms, what the bids mean from each people. Of course, Sheikh Jassim's bid is 5 billion apparently. We will be dissecting that as well. And of course, we'll be dissecting Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid and basically laying it on the table, laying exactly what it means for Sheikh Jassim, for the club, etc., etc. Like I said, get your questions in. I'm not going to sit here and claim to be an expert in this field. However, obviously, I've done a lot of reading. As you can see from my bio, I do work for the BBC, so I do have contacts here and there. So yeah, I've obviously spoken to a couple of people behind the scenes, that kind of thing. So please do take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt to an extent. I'm just a Man United fan like you lot. I'm just trying to be as open and transparent as I possibly can from the knowledge that I am aware of. And basically, I'm trying to debunk some of this absolute nonsense that Sir Jim has blown Sheikh Jassim at the water. Potentially, he has. But the truth of the matter is, it's not as simple as that. It's absolute BS. I'm seeing a lot of people criticizing Sheikh Jassim, and I will get into that in a bit more detail. Like I said, slap a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Obviously, my socials are on screen. If you want to follow me on Twitter, which is where I tweet regularly, which is probably where most of you are coming from, because obviously my tweet got a lot of traction. So, of course, you probably know me from there anyways. But listen, let's get a couple of comments in before we start. Shout out to Matthew. I just found your Twitter now, Matthew. To be fair, you should have told me what your Twitter handle was. I just put 2 and 2 together and I realized, wait, this is Matthew from my streams. But yeah, shout out to you. Thank you, as always, for showing love and support. Shout out to Muslim in the building. Walaikum salam, my brother. And evening to all. Looking forward to this chat. Listen, we're here to debunk all the myths. We're here to talk factually and hopefully provide a bit more clarity on what is actually going on. Also, just want to quickly shout out every single person that took part in the protest at the Aston Villa game as well. Extremely proud of the turnout from the fan base. I personally couldn't make it because I had family commitments, but nevertheless, unbelievable achievement from 1958 Foundation organization even, and obviously the work that they do is absolutely phenomenal. Big shout out to everyone who obviously partook in that. Obviously always got my love and support, so shout out to everyone if you made yourself down there. Bad boys for life. Big up to Jim Ratcliffe. Values higher than Qatar bid. I'm not 100% sure if that's a positive way or a bad way, but obviously we'll dissect that as well. And Zayn also, do you think he's waiting to know Ratcliffe's exact offer when he's selected as a preferred bidder and Justin goes higher? To be honest, I don't actually think that's I think the bids are in essentially. And last but not least, shout out to James. Obviously always showing love. I've got so many James that actually watched my videos, so shout out to all the James. I've got like 4 or 5 James now. I only have like 10 views a video. But anyways, this is what it is. Shout out to the James out there. Shout out to Zay. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Get your thoughts and listen. We're going to debunk this myth straight from the get-go because I don't want to waffle for too long. Obviously, I want it to be a quicker video. First things first, that absolute myth that Sheikh Jassim could have just bid 5.2 billion, 5.3 billion, whatever it may be, and, you know, he would have outbid him. That's not the case. Let's first and foremost dissect what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid actually means, the value of it. There was a lot of reports coming out that say Sir Jim Ratcliffe basically values the club. I was about to call it company then. Values the club more than Sheikh Jassim, and his bid reflects that. So what does that actually mean? What does his bid reflect? Well, to break it down in as the simplest terms I can do, it's 5 billion up front from Jim Ratcliffe. I don't know why I keep calling it Sir, but it's what it is. Jim Ratcliffe, and then basically he has that other bit of the 20%, which he didn't actually divulge prior. Basically, a politician. You know how politicians say X, Y, and Z, to get you to vote for them, and then when they're in power, they don't actually follow through on XYZ. That is Sir John Ratcliffe, and we're gonna obviously go through that right now. So basically, 5 billion with debt, low leverage. I mean, leveraging loans, that kind of thing, which is kind of normal in these scenarios. So I'm not going to get into it for that. Obviously, this is how the Glazers bought Man United. So for me, automatic red flag. I'm already got, OCD, PTSD, whatever it may be. I'm already thinking, yo, allow it. I don't want to go down this route again. We've been there, done that. It wasn't pretty. Second red flag. Basically, the Glazers keep 20%. I mean, first things first, I believe he's trying to get 51%. Which of course would make him the biggest investor. Obviously, we already know this. And the Glazers have 69%. So technically, it's probably 18% of the Glazers are holding on to. But I'm going to round it up for 20% just for the sake of the example. So please don't be like, oh, well, it's 18%. I know that. I just want to clarify. But we're going to say 20% just to explain it in simplest terms as we can. So we're currently on 5 billion, which is, okay, we've got 5 billion on the table, lads. So how do we beat Sheikh Jassim? So at this point, Sheikh Jassim could go 5.2, 5.3, 5.5, whatever you want to call it. And he would, of course, be offering more than that of Ratcliffe. So what does Ratcliffe do? What does he do? He snakes the fan base, snakes it. I'm going to call it how it is. I don't care. Snakes the fan base and says, you know what? I'm not going to win this. I can't win this because this guy's got more money than me. So what can I do to turn the tables? He basically said to the Glazers, you can keep 20% of the club. 20%, do your thing. I will look after the club from now on. But you guys, you're still remaining in the club. So what does that mean for the value or the valuation of his bid? So got 5 billion and now he said 20% on top of that. You keep that in shares. So basically what that means is, so if you actually look at the 5 billion bid, of course, each billion is basically referring to 20%, of course, 5 divided by 20. Yeah. Basic maths, basically. So 1 billion equals 20%. So basically what that means, he said to them, he's 5 billion up front, 20% equating to 1 billion. He's basically now offering them 6 billion. So going from 5 billion to 6 billion, just to snake us and basically allow himself to get in there any means possible is basically what he's done. So for people to say, oh, Sheikh Jassim needs to do X, Y, and Z, you need to understand what the hell is going on. Because Sheikh Jassim was probably going to bid 5.5 billion and he would have won because it would have been 500 million above Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And it would have been like where they would have said, highest bidder, say less, take your money. However, the fact that he's now thrown the 20% in means that Sheikh Jassim has to bid 6 billion to match him. And that's where the reports have been coming out. And look, this is clickbait, not me. The reports are clickbait. Basically, the narrative that has been spawned in the British media is Sheikh Jassim does not value the club more than my man. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe, basically, he doesn't value the club more. He's basically found, he's not a loophole, but he's basically done dirty tactics to get himself in the door. He's allowed him to keep 20%, which of course, because they've got 20%, he's only actually buying 51 or whatever, 69%, whatever it may be. He's giving them less money essentially because they're still getting money from the club. So therefore, his bid is worth 6 billion as opposed to 5 billion if it was just upfront money. So that's where the clickbait and that's where the fear mongering has come from. I've also fell for it. I'm not going to lie because I was absolutely fuming, but I just wanted to apply a bit of context. So just to obviously repeat that for people that probably didn't understand and maybe I didn't explain myself better. Basically, both people had 5 billion on the table. And then obviously he said, keep 20%. You know what? Keep 20%. And that 20% equates to 1 billion because of the value of the club or the value of the bid. Basically, lose to the 1 billion per percentage, 20%. So that increases his bid to 6 billion. And then Jassim has to match that. Even if he was to match it, hypothetically speaking, let's say Sheikh Jassim did offer 5 billion and they were like, oh no, now you need to give 6 billion because my man is giving 6 billion. Why the hell would they accept that? So that basically puts Sheikh Jassim in an impossible situation where he has to bid 6 billion plus to even have a chance. I mean, and this is the narrative that people are not explaining. People are basically going after Sheikh Jassim, saying he doesn't care about the club, he doesn't want the club, he's not putting in the right money. That was not the case. That was complete and utter nonsense because of this guy who's basically snaked the fan base and allowed the Glazers to stay. He's basically giving them more money than they asked for. He's giving them 6 billion and 20%, which is, he's given 5 billion and 20%, which equates to 6 billion. If you're looking at it from the Glazers' perspective, obviously none of us like the Glazers for obvious reasons. Why would they sell? Why would they sell Why would they sell to Sheikh Jassim in that scenario? You're basically saying, oh yeah, 6 billion upfront, or 5 billion upfront, and 20%, which equates to 6 billion. So basically, they match each other. They've both got 6 billion. The only difference is I get 5 billion upfront, and I constantly get 20% off Manchester United. And let's use our brains here for 2 seconds. That 20% value of Man United is going to go up year on year on year. And especially if we improve on the pitch, which there is potential that could happen. Obviously, depending on, how Sir Jim runs the club, so to speak, it's only going to go up. So if anything, they've got an investment in Manchester United for the rest of their life that they're going to pass on to the grandchildren. If anything, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is setting the Glazers up for life here financially. They were already settled with Man United, but they're selling the club, but they're still going to be leeching off the club. They're potentially going to take the dividends. They're going to do whatever the hell they want because he set them up for life. On the flip side, Sheikh Jassim is doing what the fans want. A full sale. We wanted it. He's come in. He was probably going to bid 5.5 billion. I don't know. They wanted 6 billion initially, but 5.5 billion would have done it. That would have been fine. That probably would have been enough. Obviously, I can't say for definite, but that 5.5 billion would have been enough. However, because he's offered them 20%, it now means he has to offer minimum of 6 billion to even match the flipping Snakes deal. And that's where we start. And this is where the spin, and as he said, he's spin, that this is the problem. And this is why I was getting so frustrated on Twitter, because not only are people not understanding the situation where Sheikh Jassim has basically been snaked completely by, obviously, dirty tactics by Ratcliffe, but on top of that, the narrative is within the fan base, as what is Sheikh Jassim hasn't done enough to secure it. That's not the case. Basically, I don't think he could have won it in this scenario because, look, I'm not saying he can't win. Obviously, we don't know exactly. We'll get onto that very shortly. Obviously, I tweeted about the Al Jazeera post. I'm going to get onto that, like I said. Spoken to people from Doha, Qatar, Qatar, should I say, directly, people that are journalists that work there, get paid to work there. And I said to them, look, what's the situation? Is there any credibility behind this post? Is there any truth behind it? And obviously, they've given me their backing, so obviously, going off their words. But before I continue to obviously divulge in that, get your questions in. If that doesn't make sense, I'm happy to explain it again, explain it in a more simple term. But the simplest terms I can really explain it is both of them put 5 billion up front, supposedly. One person said he's an extra 20%, you keep that. And obviously 20% of 5 billion is 1 billion. So that obviously equates to 6 billion. And then Sheikh Jassim is essentially in a situation where he has to at least match that minimum. So he has to put another £1 billion on the table to match it, let alone overtake it. But yeah, let's get some questions in. Let's get some of your thoughts in. Ratcliffe, you cannot just as fine, just go back and look at Brexit. I mean, I'm not going to comment on Brexit because we'll be here all night. But for me personally, so many red flags. Like I said, shout out to everyone that was involved in that protest. I think we need to see a bit more of that. Busby Babes, the flyer of Manchester, shout out to you. Before Sublin want to sell, so how can Joel and Avram stay? They want to get a penny from Jim. They're not going to stay. I personally do think they will sell the club. I've been consistent in saying that I do think the club will be sold. Again, it's up to the Glazers. At the end of the day, they can change their mind. But like you correctly said, 4 siblings want to get rid of the club, 2 want to stay. They might be able to have obviously, amongst family, they may be able to buy the sibling shares. I don't know how it works in terms of who's got how much percentage is equally shared, that kind of thing. But potentially they could stay by obviously buying the sibling shares. I'm sure that is more than something that they can work out between the family. But that aside, I do think Sir Jim's offer is absolutely ridiculous, and it does blow Sheikh Jassim's reported deal out the water based on the fact that he's basically snaked the fans and essentially said a big to the fans, because that was never part of the deal. He knew he was going to lose, and this was his last resort to get the club, essentially, because there was if it was straight money, Sheikh Jassim wins every day of the week because he's going to offer more money. Even if he said 5.7 billion, that's a lot more than they wanted, really. They probably were holding that for 5.5 billion, which is already a record fee. So yeah, he probably would have won if it was straight money on money, but obviously in this scenario, he's basically snaked the fans and just lied to us, essentially. So for me personally, that's where the biggest issues lie. Is it pounds or dollars that the bid's been offered? That is a great question. I'm not going to answer that because, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. Actually, it was US dollars. So if I remember correctly, I don't know how much it equates to, but so yeah, it was £5 billion, sorry, and then obviously it was Translated into US dollars, I think it was 6.3 billion, if I'm not mistaken, something along that mark. But either way, it was 5 billion. From Ratcliffe, which we know is factual because it's come from credible sources. And I'm going to get on to the second part, which is probably why most of you are here. The Al Jazeera post. So basically, if you aren't aware, I tweeted something not so long ago, basically talking about Al Jazeera and an article that they posted not so long ago, pretty much disproving all the nonsense that has been on your timeline over the last 24 hours. Again, I'm not going to say the British journalists are credible, and I'm not going to say what they're saying is false information, because the truth of the matter is we don't actually know, because it's similar to when we do transfer deals. One person says one thing, one person says another thing. So I'm not going to sit here and say this person's right, this person's wrong. I'm just going to give you the information. You can make your own decisions. For me personally, Ram, Al Jazeera are the most credible, if not the most credible outlet in the Middle East. They're up there. They're definitely in the conversation. They're up there without a shadow of a doubt. They're very reputable. And as I tweeted on the threads, they don't post shit for the sake of posting stuff. They don't, they don't do clickbait. They're like the Athletic in that sense. They don't do clickbait. They're basically posting on merit. Yes, not everything that report is factual. Not every single thing in any news outlet is factual. I've seen a lot of people trying to discredit them under my tweet and saying, oh, well, why you believe in Al Jazeera over X, Y, and Z. The truth of the matter is, yeah, there are obviously benefits for Al Jazeera to post this and obviously push this in a positive light. You could say it's PR essentially. But the fact that they say it's an undisclosed fee, for me, is somewhat of a hope, because at the end of the day, everyone's saying that Sheikh Jassim has put 5 billion down. We don't 100% know if that's true or not, but they're saying it's an undisclosed fee. So of course, if they are saying it's an undisclosed fee, that means that the people that are saying it was a 5 billion fee from Sheikh Jassim are obviously lying. So someone's definitely not telling the truth at this point. The other sort of rumor, myth, narrative, whatever you want to call it, is, well, it was an undisclosed fee, but people are basically leaking information. Who's going to leak that information realistically to a British journalist? I just don't understand how that would come about. Again, for me, it just seems a lot of hearsay. I think a lot of people on social media are using the opportunity here to basically get as much engagement, clicks, etc., whatever you want to call it. And I don't actually think a lot of people know what they're talking about in this scenario. Like I've said, I'm not going to sit here and say this is definitely factual and this isn't factual. But one thing I do know is Al Jazeera are extremely credible source. They're more credible than most outlets in the Middle East, and especially for Qatar business. They're basically the number one. They're basically our BBC equivalent. Again, you might not rate BBC. That's completely up to you, but I'm just trying to give you an example. So I don't think it's as easy to say, oh, well, I don't trust Al Jazeera. Why? That's extremely naive, and I just think it's a bit ignorant. Just because you're not from that part of the world doesn't mean they're not credible. As someone that's lived in Qatar, and like I said, I've spoken to many people that live there just to get their opinions, because look, sometimes I do get carried away on my tweets, I'm not going to lie, but I spoke to them and they completely just threw it out there. What are your thoughts on Al Jazeera? Are they credible? Do you trust them? Are they a reliable source of information? And categorically, they all said the same, absolutely credible. If anything, they're probably even more than credible, because they don't have bias. They don't do agenda. They just report the news as it should be reported all around the world. Again, I don't want to get into that because I'm sure people control what I'm trying to say. But some news outlets don't report the truth for betterment, especially politicians in general. But for the sake of this conversation here, basically they're extremely credible. If they said it's undisclosed, I personally believe them. Again, you can make your own mind up, don't have to believe them, but I think they're reputable. I'm hoping it is true, because I've got to be honest, I don't think 5 billion is going to be enough based on the fact of what I've already discussed. Sheikh Jassim's bid has to be 6 billion realistically. Then it comes down to the Glazers for them to work out what they want to do. I mean, I would be surprised if they reject Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid, only for the sheer fact that they have got a perfect opportunity to continue to milk the club. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has basically given them the golden ticket. It said 5 billion up front and continue to leech up the club for the rest of your life and not be at the forefront. You're no longer going to be responsible or, criticized as heavily, because I will be the fall guy now, because I'm going to be the main man. I want the responsibility. I want to be the guy at the front. So for me, the whole situation, it comes down to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's gone about it the complete wrong way. For me, from the jump, he's an absolute snake. I've got to throw that out there. I'm sorry. It just comes back comes back to bite me on the arse later down the line, I'll take the L, whatever it may be. I do not trust anything that comes out of his mouth. He's a politician of the highest order. He's completely violated the fans, and this is why I was so passionately ranting, as in the fans can't allow this, the fans can't do, and the people are replying to the fans can't do X. Fans can do a lot. We stop the Super League, we can definitely stop the Sir Jim thing. For me, this is now an opportunity that we can't fumble the bag. Essentially, we have to go hard on Sir Jim, because we can't allow him to let the Glazers have 20%. At the end of the day, if he keeps 20%, the Glazers keep 20%, we're never going to get rid of them. They're going to stay. Why would they leave? Why would you get rid of the 20% of Manchester United? Like I said, that 20%, if you work out on the amount of money that has been offered, is worth 1 billion. Because obviously, 5 billion is the bid, apparently, that the both put on the table. So 20% of 5 billion is 1 billion. So therefore, he's basically giving them a 1 billion extra. So why would they say no to that? So for me, we need to allow this energy for Sheikh Jassim. If you're watching this and you see nonsense of people saying, oh, Sheikh Jassim's X, Y, Z, this got nothing to do with them. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the one that snaked the fans. Nothing to do with Sheikh Jassim. As I've already said, and I've stated very clearly, the only way Sheikh Jassim can win this is if he matches him, which is 6 billion. He has to put 1 billion down more of his own money to match his offer. That's not fair, is it, realistically speaking? Or what he can do is be a snake like Sir Ratcliffe and basically say, no, I'll keep 20%. They can both be snakes. So what do we want as a fan? So you're either going to, waste all your energy on Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Sheikh Jassim. For me, Sheikh Jassim's done absolutely nothing wrong. The British media are trying to portray him as a bad person, a villain, whatever you want to call it. His intention. Look, listen, don't fall for the bullshit. I'm telling you, do not fall for this BS. They're trying to paint this in an, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's a hero. He is not a hero. He's a villain. He's not doing anything for the Man United fans. He's buying the club on debt. He's not going to clear any of the debt. He's not going to improve the infrastructure. He's not going to do X, Y, and Z. Meanwhile, just to throw in another curveball, Sheikh Jassim was going to clear the debt. So that's another 800 to 1 billion that he was going to clear. So hypothetically speaking, if he does match the bid and put 6 billion down, and we've got 6 billion here from Sheikh Jassim and 6 from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they both got 6 billion on the table, with the other ones 20%. You keep, this is just straight 100%. I want the club, get out. Who are you going to take, realistically speaking? They both put the exact same value of the club down, a value of offer down. Who are you going to accept? Let's not lie to ourselves. We know who he's going to accept. Obviously, they're going to accept Sir Jim Ratcliffe. They're businessmen. Why would they not? On top of that, he's Sheikh Jassim, has said that he's going to put 800 to a billion down to clear the debt of the club. So that means he's basically bidding 7 billion for this club, and that's without the stadium that he promised he's going to make. That's our infrastructure. You're looking at 12 billion investment here. When you add everything up, the stadium, the infrastructure, yes, obviously that's going to happen over time. It's not going to happen straight away. But people, you need to understand, they're trying to manipulate you and make it out like this guy or the Qatari person isn't, he's not what it all cracked up to be. Let's paint this person as the almighty or whatnot, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. The guy's an absolute snake. He's completely snaked the fan base. He doesn't give two shits about anyone. All he cares is about himself. He's going to milk the club. He's going to allow these guys to leech off us. And I, for one, I need the fans to stand up to be counted. If you've got a voice, you've got an opportunity, you've got a platform, or even if you just go to the games, we got to fucking stop this before it happens. And look, people will say, what can the fans do? The bids are in. What can the fans do? The bids are in. Listen, let's not have this defeatist attitude, because for me personally, if we had this attitude, I'd still be sat at the back of the bus. If you know, you know. Look, at the end of the day, it's absolutely despicable what Sir Jim Ratcliffe has done. Absolutely despicable. Gotta be quite frankly honest with you. He's allowed the Glazers to stay, and I, for one, I'm absolutely livid. Honestly, I was ranting for ages. I was just tweeting from my own chest. I didn't even care if anyone, one person, agreed with me. I was pissed off, as you should be. But all I'm seeing is people pissed off with Sheikh Jassim. You're wasting your energy on the wrong people. As I've said, and I will say it again because I know a lot of people have joined late. Very simple. Both put 5 billion on the table, supposedly. 5 billion on the table. 20% of 5 billion is worth 1 billion. He said, no what? He's a free 1 billion. So basically, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid is automatically gone up to 6 billion, whilst he's still down on 5 billion. So that's where spin. They were saying, oh, Sheikh Jassim has been bluffing. You know, he's basically been lying to you. Like, he doesn't really care. X, Y, and Z, his offer's nowhere near as much. Yeah, because this guy just chucked in 20% out of nowhere. That wasn't even promised. And as Ali correctly has said here, sorry, that's the wrong tweet. Message. There we go. Sir Jim Ratcliffe lied in his manifesto for the club. Exactly. As I was saying, he's a politician. He's basically said everything that we want to hear. And when it comes to the crunch, or when it comes to implementing the shit that he's promised, nah, I gotta do what I gotta do to get this club. 20%, bro. He's just thrown that in last minute. And of course, they're gonna buy it. Of course, they're gonna say, no, what? That's a dream offer for us. Of course, understandably, from their perspective, as much as we dislike them and as much as we want them to come out of their club, why would anyone with any brains that say no to that Sir Jim Ratcliffe deal? Because that is, of course, it has technically blown him out the water, but not off a fault of his own. He could technically match it and say, you know what, I'm going to allow the Glazers to stay as well. But you know what, he's sticking to his principles and he's sticking to his promises, which is 100% of the club. He's sticking to his manifesto, and he's sticking to what he said. He wants the clubs, his intentions are the right players, and he's trying to obviously get the club back to where it needs to be. And I, for one, I'm not happy with that absolute nonsense that I'm seeing on Twitter, where I'm seeing so many people going after shit. I just think it's completely uncalled for, and it just screams of like just waffle, really. It just screams of just negativity. And I want you to come and just obviously say what I've got to say on that matter. But yeah, let's get some of your comments in, because there's quite a few people watching. If you are tuning in for the first time that you ever seen the channel, please do slap a like on the video and please do subscribe. I will keep you up to date as things unfold. I have got a couple of people and guests that I have got lined up hopefully in the coming weeks. Fingers crossed, obviously, if they're available, like finance people, that kind of thing, to obviously explain it a bit more detail. However, I just want to explain in the simplest terms, to be honest, rather than obviously giving you all this jargon and whatnot, layman's terms, so to speak. But yeah, let's get some of your guys' comments, as I've already said. I'm just going to put it on the screen, I'm not going to read it. He has betrayed the fans. Listen, you can read the top yourself, but yeah, he has betrayed the fans. Listen, the energy needs to be on him. I don't want him in. He's already shown me so many red flags. I don't like the guy. He's lying already. Obviously, we've already seen that. Shout out to the United Way. As we have been taken as mugs once again, absolutely be taken as mugs. Not by Sheikh Jassim, as the media would tell you, by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's completely mugging us off. Please, please do not fall for the media spins. Do not fall for the BS. You've got to remember that in the UK, they want Sir Jim Ratcliffe to have the most powerful club. Why would they want a Qatari to have it? Why? The amount of times I've seen people say state owned. He's one person, he's Qatari. That's like saying a Portuguese person. I don't know why I said Portuguese, but hypothetically, Portuguese, French, Spanish, wherever it may be, any country. One person from that country wants to buy Man United. That's not a state owned. That's one French man trying to buy the club. That's it. But when it's Qatar, they made it out like it's a whole country. No, that's not the case. There's one guy that supports Man United. He's got money. He's got backing from his dad. He's a very wealthy man. And he wants the club. And people are just like spinning everything, loading in us with debt. Wonder how he's going to pay that off. I don't want to get into that. Honestly, guys, it's an absolute shambles. Basically, buying the club on debt. And it's going to be an absolute shit show. Let's keep it real. But yeah, listen, get your questions in if you've got any questions, or submit to Chelsea with Todd. Listen, this comment here by FIFA Mobile 11. I hope this is the case. Of course, every United fan that has, you know, these sort of basically concerns that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is likely to, you know, basically win the clubs, essentially. We're hoping he's a Todd Bowley in the sense that he spends money, not in terms of how clueless Todd Bowley is, with all due respect to that guy. Time will tell, but if I'm being honest, in the manner in which he's gone about things, already lied to the fan base on numerous occasions, I don't really trust him. I've got to be honest. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him, essentially. I just don't really trust anything that's going to come out of his mouth moving forward. At the end of the day, he had an opportunity to be honest with the fans. And he's basically just snaked us. I mean, they had potentially, or arguably, they had the same money on the table. So why throw in an extra 20%? Why would you do that? Absolute joke, man. any different to what the Glazers done? Absolutely not, Matthew. Absolutely not. Exactly the same thing. He's literally doing. It might actually technically be worse because our biggest thing was to get the Glazers out. I mean, it's everywhere. If you're a Man United fan, if you're a football fan in general, and you follow the Premier League and you follow the English football, you know the Man United fans do not like the Glazers. What is this guy doing? He's keeping them in. Not only is he lining their pockets currently, as in, I'm giving you money straight up, but he's basically lining the pockets for eternity. So what's the point? What is the point of him actually coming in? It's got a comment here. Our focus of protest needs to be on Enos and Ratcliffe. Absolutely. This is why I'm making this video, by the way. Obviously, I don't know it's gonna get that much traction, to be quite frank with you, but one of the reasons is the fact that I think our energy's in the wrong place. I've seen a lot of people basically saying, "Oh, Sheikh Jassim is a bottle job. You know, he's not the person that he said he was. He doesn't really care about the club, etc., etc." That's complete false narrative. I mean, as I've already alluded to, he would have won it with a 5.5 billion bid because it would have been 500 million above what Sergeant Ratcliffe was offering. But of course, him being a snake, he turned the tables and he did anything in his power to win the club. And that is just dirty for me personally. But obviously, he's got to do what he's going to do to get the money in. But yeah, as I said, the energy needs to be on Ratcliffe and obviously his ownership. With Sergeant, we have another moron on board plus the Glazers. Yeah. Oh, God. But essentially, yeah. Innocent Jim and the Glazers, we don't want any of them. Let Jim buy some other club. He has actually bought another club. I think it is... I feel like it is Lille. I feel like he's got Lille. But whatever club it is in the French league, they're absolutely shit under his tenure, so that's great. Let's have a read of this. But remember that 20% is not a guarantee that it will be worth more in the future. You know why? The protests keep going. Listen, this is a great question or point or statement, so to speak. Of course, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees that 20%, which is currently worth 1 billion, let's keep it real. So if their bid's 5 billion, as I've already alluded to, that means that 20% automatically is worth 1 billion. We understand that. Hopefully everyone is on the same page here. So let's just say it's worth 1 billion. Yes, of course, that can fluctuate. That can go up. That can go down. We know how it works with stocks, etc. But let's be honest. Do we realistically think that Manchester United is going to be worth less in a couple of years? With how things are going, how, social media, marketing, etc., it's only going to increase the value of the club, especially if Sergio comes in and actually has a bit of success, whatever it may be, it's only going to increase the eyes. Yeah, there might be a new liquor paint. There might be a new things that he changes, the training ground, etc., to win the fans on early on. But the truth of the matter is, they are basically living on Manchester United for the rest of their lives. That's basically the crux of it. That deal. So yeah, granted, it could potentially depreciate and lose its value, but I would highly doubt that is the case. Bar an absolute miracle or may that completely fall off a cliff. We know that's not going to happen. Well, hopefully for our sake, anyways, that is not going to happen. But for me personally, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that is even on the table. The fact that was on the table, as I've already alluded to, they had the exact same offer on the table as we've been told, and this guy's just absolutely snaked us completely. Maguire, Red Devils, the same. I mean, that's not really relevant, but that is factual. But yeah. Keep getting your thoughts in. Nast, I don't know what that means. The value will go up with Eric Ten Hag. I personally think the same. I mean, as a United fan, I would hope so. Meaning that he's obviously been successful. Red Devils here. Yeah, so this is what I was alluding to, and this is basically the reason that I made the video. If you haven't seen my tweet, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I do tweet a lot, obviously, especially all things Man United, essentially. So yeah, I'll just put it back on screen. Al Jazeera did confirm earlier, according to their sources, that the fee was undisclosed. So for those of you that don't know what that means, basically, all the reports suggesting that Sheikh Jassim had bid 5 billion is false. That's what Al Jazeera basically said. For me, as someone that's lived in Qatar, as someone that's spoken to people that currently live in Doha, and obviously live in the vicinity of Al Jazeera, they have basically categorically said to me that Al Jazeera is the most reputable source of information alongside some of the other ones, but it's definitely in the top 2/top 3, probably top 2, in terms of, credibility, and overall just people trusting their word, obviously. Similar to how in England we would probably trust BBC if it was them reporting such a thing. yeah, so basically, we're going to find out sooner rather than later. Of course, make sure you stay up to date regarding all things the bids, obviously, by following my channel, obviously subscribe to the channel, that kind of thing. He's taking them backwards. Absolutely, he's cops to kill them. As a United way saying here, keep smashing the likes and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Please do support your boy. And the local lads who lives in France and still can't be asked to go to oh, there it is, Nice. There we go. Nice, that's it. It wasn't Lille, was it? I think Lille are doing all right. But yeah, he supports Chelsea, got a season ticket for Chelsea, apparently supports Man United. Listen, I don't really have any time for the guy. I've got to be honest, I just think it's an absolute joke. I'm hoping that the Al Jazeera report is factual, as opposed to the people that said he's only bid 5 billion. The main reason being is because he's going to have to bid at least 6 billion, for me personally, for him to actually, you know, make them bat their eyelids. Obviously, in that scenario, you would probably still go with Sir Jim Ratcliffe because you've got an opportunity to keep 20%. However, there may be a case that, as someone said earlier, that the other 4 siblings said, no, we want a full sale. We want to get our hands washed up to Manchester United, which of course would be the best case scenario for us fans. And then obviously that would mean that they would sell to Sheikh Jassim in that scenario. It would take a lot to go wrong for our value to go down. Absolutely, like relegation or some nonsense like that. He's a Chelsea fan. He's got a Chelsea season ticket, as United we're saying. Hopefully we know by the middle of next week. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Listen, hopefully this has been obviously clearing a lot of the myths regarding Sheikh Jassim. I just want to make the video because a lot of people didn't really understand the tweets. But just to conclude, it's very simple. Both people supposedly put 5 billion on the table. One person is offered an extra 20%, which equates to 1 billion, which basically means Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer is now equating to 6 billion. And if the speculation that Sheikh Jassim is offered 5 billion, it would mean he has to pay another 1 billion of his own money to match it. So for both of them to have 6 billion on the table, that would be the only way for it to be on the level playing field. Then it would be up to the Glazers for them to decide: do you want 5 billion up front and keep 20%, or do you want 6 billion up front and we completely wash our hands of the club? That would be up to them. But that's basically how it works currently, speculatively. We've got Ratcliffe with 6 billion here, 5 billion up front, 20%, and we've got Sheikh Jassim with 5 billion, basically. That's what people are reporting. Hence why all the reports are coming out saying that he values the club more, and that's only because he's put 20% to the Glazers, not because he's put his own money in. He's not bought the club with any, well, he's bought some of it with his own money, but a lot of it is with debt. So to be quite fair and honest with you, I'm not going to give him any form of credit because he's basically just done a Glazers 2.0. But listen, hopefully that makes sense. Obviously, slap a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for more updates regarding all things Manchester United, of course, the bidding situation, and hopefully that makes more sense. Obviously, I will clip this and put it on Twitter as well, so you can share it to your friends and stuff, so people can understand. Anyways, make sure you follow me on Twitter for more updates as well. I tweet quite frequently when I'm not working. It's Usman Talks United, and also it does say in the description. Apart from that, it's been your boy, man. Hopefully, you guys enjoy.